The podcast you are about to listen to is one of the many podcasts that is part of the College Huddle, the largest fan-led college sports podcast community on the internet. Fan-made, fan-driven, and fan-fueled. The College Huddle.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free!
Okay, next question.
I'm a horse football coach right now.
You know, it got shoved up, shoved it up. It got shoved, right?
What is up, green and white fans? It is the Spartan Savants podcast coming to you on with our 36th episode here, following another tough loss for the Michigan State Spartans, making that 3 in a row. This one coming at the hands of the Oregon Ducks. I am, of course, hosting on the hosting duties, Willie, joined by my two favorite Spartans, Nikki and Travis. Another tough one, boys. Lots to discuss and debrief from that Oregon game. Michigan State's halfway through the season here, 3-3 record. We're going to give away some midseason reports, some midseason awards, I should say, and get into a little bit of the expectations moving forward, maybe reset some expectations for this team. Look at the schedule going forward as we enter the second half of the season. Spartans on a bye week this week, so no game to preview, but we'll get into picks in the other normal segments. But before we do that, I want to check and see how you guys are doing. Nikki, how are things going?
Man, it would have been really nice to have had a Lions game this past weekend. It really just kind of sucks that we have had just been boat race the past 2 weeks. Didn't even have Lions to kind of like take the edge off, and finally we get them next week. But I will say, obviously the Tigers are looking good. Great win today. The whole fair weather fan thing is kind of awesome. Like not having to deal with like all the bad parts, like knocking my head against the desk, trying to convince myself that Aiden Childs is actually like does never turn over problem. Like not having to deal with that is awesome. Like, so I would really recommend just only caring about teams when you're good.
It is nice. As someone who has been on the Tigers bandwagon for many years, this has been exciting, and I'm happy to have the Fairweather fans back. Chance to clinch tomorrow. Hope they get the job done. Travis, what's going on with you?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good thing the Tigers are doing so well, because otherwise you'd be getting a very negative Trav today. So
Right.
let's put it that way.
Yeah, I hear you. The lack of the Lions game, it was tough. They've provided for the past season and so far this year, they've provided kind of a nice reprieve when MSU has not lived up to their duties. But with that being said, it kind of feels like the wind that we have behind our sails going, even after the Boston College game, has been taken out a little bit. Obviously, the Oregon game, again, similar to the Ohio State game, I thought they were two very similar games. The Oregon game, I think, being right after the Ohio State game was a little more excruciating to watch. But another disappointing loss. Again, I think some positives to take away. But Nikki, knee-jerk reactions to the Oregon game. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, knee-jerk reaction the whole time I was saying, we suck. What the hell? This is horrible. Like, so obviously we sucked. I think that's very easy to say there. We looked outmanned the entire time. I feel like that's going to the West Coast after playing the number 2 team in the country to play the number 3 team in the country. I really think that does take a toll, and I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. That's a huge plus.
Yes.
Derek Harmon, the less said about him, the better, I would say. And I do have to say, like, it really just exposed all of our flaws that we already knew about. And while I will say Child's fumble the goal line fumble was like the worst thing he's done all year. That was the absolute pinnacle. I do think he didn't throw an interception all game. So, there's that. I do think he was being a little overly conservative, which I kind of think he has to do at this point, at least he kind of has to prove to himself that he can play a clean game. But we have no weapons on offense. Like our run game was so horrid. Like, man, like what? It really felt like a game where after leaving it, you're like, are we ever going to win another game again? Well, I do think we will, but we'll get into that later. But that's really was my knee-jerk reaction saying, are we getting phased out of college football?
Okay. That's worse than I was expecting.
Yeah, very negative there, Nikki. Go ahead, Willie.
Travis, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree with you in that, like, obviously the score was similar to the Ohio State game, but also like the way it went was kind of similar too, except during the Ohio State game, I found myself thinking like, okay, one play and we can get back in this. One play, we can get back in this. The Oregon game, it was like, okay, one play, we can get back in this, but that's not coming. Like it's like they were moving the ball up and down the field pretty much at will. We had the one drive at the beginning of the game and then never again until the fourth quarter, because that offensive line was absolutely atrocious that night. They had Aiden Childs running around and getting thrown down like a rag doll, like pretty much every play. Couldn't get anything going. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words because it's what you expected, but it was what you were hoping wouldn't happen.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm with you guys pretty much every step of the way. I think I felt early on the defense was kind of standing on its head a little bit. They forced two kind of traded turnovers. Obviously, the Childs fumble. I felt like once that happened, I felt the game, like you said, Trev, we never really sustained a drive after that. I feel like that was really a momentum changer, even though we ended up getting a turnover in the red zone from them and another one thereafter. Felt like the defense was kind of keeping us in it by standing on its head a little bit, forcing some bad throws from Gabriel. But they kept giving the offense chances to. In all reality, we really were one play away from being right back in that thing, and then in a blink of an eye, it was like 21-0, and we weren't.
Yeah. It just didn't feel like it. Like,
right. Yeah.
You could see it, but it didn't feel like it because the way we were playing.
Yeah. Yeah. The defense again kept this in the game like they have, all year in these bigger games. The offense just could not do anything, and I think you both touched on it, but the offensive line was just almost not even there. I mean, it looked like it looked like a week one offensive line that had never played together. And I know they're cycling guys in and out because of injuries and everything, but it was truly, truly scary how bad it was in terms of one, the run game just could never get going, just non-existent. And then two, I mean, Childs keeping him healthy, one, and then the other side of that, just no time to go through any type of progressions or make any reads. Guys in his lap almost instantly. So I don't know if it's a back to the drawing board thing with the pairings and the offensive line or the rotation or how that goes, or how that's going to look moving forward. Obviously, the Oregon defensive line, very expensive, very talented group. So got to give them a little bit of credit as well. One thing I did see was Stanton Ramble had like
very highly graded
score. Yeah, like 78 point something. For I don't know if that was strictly passing down. I think it might have been pass protection, or I don't know if it was overall. But that was like 10th ranked offensive lineman for the week. So definitely a positive to take away from a young player there. Again, I do think that it was encouraging to see the defense, step up and keep us in the game.
Could have been worse if they didn't make those plays. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They did the best they could. I mean, you look at the stats. I mean, Oregon had almost 500 yards total offense.
Yeah. They ran for 213.
Yeah. And we really couldn't. I mean, their run game looks pretty good. That number 20 was a problem all night. They're just
a lot of big plays. A lot of big plays.
Yeah, it really caused a lot of problems for us, and I think once we got down, there was just no coming back. It was definitely a tough game to watch, and kind of like I said, just the wind is taking out of the sails a bit, but we do have some winnable games. We don't have to, like Nick said, we don't have to travel out west again. We don't have to play 2 top 4 teams again. We will play other ranked teams, but they won't be that. That's definitely, I would say, Oregon, Ohio State are in the upper echelon of teams right now. And we get to watch them play this weekend, which will be entertaining. But as we leave the Oregon game, I know we all talked about the offensive line, but what is one thing that really you just need to see better moving forward? And that can be something that one player, a unit, something X's and O's wise. If we want to get back on track, what's the biggest thing for you, Travis? I'll start with you. The biggest thing for you for us to get back on track.
I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but it's definitely something other than the offensive line that comes to mind. Is we need. I know we've had like a couple games here and there, but we need more like consistency with the passing game. Like there's been big chunk plays and big plays down the field, but there's really like no intermediate or short game there whatsoever, and the guys aren't getting separation still. So I mean, it's hard. I mean, during the Oregon game, obviously Childs didn't have a lot of time to find the guys during that, but and he's had some interesting, shall we say, decisions at times. But yeah, there's something missing there that needs to go to another level.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nikki.
So obviously the last 2 years we've just been horrible. Like this roster knows being bad. Like we kind of just need to get our find our swagger. Like we need to have a couple good bounces, like good breaks. We need to have, like, I just think we're a team that snowballs. Like after that first fumble goal line interception, it seems like the team was like, well, we know this story. Like, let's just make it out alive. Like we need to take the break, just consistencies. I do think the penalties have gotten better. Like, and some of the stupid decisions we have been getting better, and like turnovers, that's honestly an entire team problem. Like we have like everybody dropping the ball. Like we just need to, it kind of reminds me, or it hopes to remind me of like the Lions back 2 years ago when they were 1-6 and they just had to win that game. They had to just figure out how to win and realize we're good because they're good, talented players. Like we're well coached. We just have one. And while like, yeah, the Maryland game, we bounced back, which was nice. We need to just have more of that. We need to feel less doomery just as a team. It feels like I feel like if we didn't lose to Boston College, the vibe would be so different. Like even with these blowouts, because this, even as like, though we don't want to think that we were going to get blown out or anything, like we kind of all knew that the last 2 games were going to be horrible. Right. So we just need to kind of reset, like, but I agree with Travis, just like, because I think the defense is doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing there. But I think just a short passing game, like, just, I don't know, find ways to get our
the offense in general, man.
Yeah. Like, get it clicking. Because it seems like one mistake happens and it's like, well, man, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple things there. I think, first of all, it really goes to show how important that Boston College game was. I mean, 4-2 would feel a lot different than 3-3, especially. I think we all had a pretty good feeling those games would go. By those games, I mean Oregon and Ohio State. Those games would go like they did. At least we covered versus Oregon. I'll say that. So I agree with that. With both of you guys saying there, it's like that Boston College game really just kind of sucks now that we lost that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. 3-3, I don't think all hope is lost. I think it's a great time for the bye week, like you said, Nikki, to reset, get the swagger back, get healthy, and then come into another night game against Iowa, charged up and ready to get things back on track. And we can get into the night games in a bit here, but I think for me it's just getting the offense in sync. It looked, the last 2 weeks, it's looked out of sync. I thought Boston College had a bad weather game. I thought it was fine outside of turnovers. But they just got to get back to doing what they do best, and they've got to find a run game for me. I think that's got to be paramount, and that goes back to the offensive line. But I think, Trav, your point is so spot on in that consistency in just across the board in the offense. But if we can't move the ball, we can't just keep relying on these big plays, and hoping that we'll hit on those, because that's how you get beat 31-10. If you're just relying on big plays, sure, you might have the Maryland game where you hit on a couple of them and that saves you, or Boston College where you hit on a couple of them that keeps you in the game or wins you the game, whatever it may be. But if you're relying on the big plays it's really your only chance to score, this is how you get beat 31-10 and 38-7. So, I think one saving grace for me is that outside of the Boston College game, I think we're right about where we expected in terms of win-loss. 3-3 is not what everyone would have taken, but I don't think people would have been shocked to know this, to enter into the bye week 3-3. We got one coin flip game with Maryland. We lost the other coin flip game with Boston College. And from here on out, I think they're pretty much all coin flip games. Regardless of what statistics may show. Outside of the Purdue game, I think we should be able to take care of them. But yeah, I mean, it's just the offense has got to be more consistent. Childs has got to figure out. It was nice to see no interceptions, but you just cannot fumble that ball on the 1 yard line like that. I don't care if you throw that thing 30 rows up in the stands, or if you just fall down. You've just got to live to see another down and hold on to that ball. And the red zone has been an issue all year for this team. Really, just have to start cashing in on those red zone opportunities.
Yeah, they've been very bad in the red zone. Too many. There's not really much else you could say on that. Too many turnovers, not enough touchdowns.
Yeah,
complete opposite of what you want.
Yeah, it's been tough, and that just takes the momentum. Just when you sustain a drive like that and you get down there to just turn it over like that, that leaves the offense so dejected. The defense has got to come back on the field and try and bail them out again. It's not a recipe for success, obviously. Injury wise, I was trying to find updated injury. I know Jordan Hall was questionable for the Oregon game, didn't play. Sounds like he'll be ready for Iowa. But I don't know if there's any new injuries post Oregon game. I couldn't find anything.
I haven't seen anything.
That's a plus.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yep. Yes. Positives. We're somewhat healthy and we covered.
Yes. Right.
There we go.
And a bye week for everyone, an extra week off to get healthier.
The first of 2 bye weeks.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I will say, like, again, I do want to stress, I do think that Oregon and Ohio State are like so much better than every other team we play the rest of the year. Different league. Like, I think they're going to look more like the Boston College and Maryland game.
I would agree with that.
I would say Oregon and Ohio State's probably going to be a rematch in the Big Ten championship if I had to bet.
I would put my money there as well. I think you're absolutely right. Can we talk about the night games?
Oh, please.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else Oregon-wise? I mean, I feel like this is the same game that Ohio State was, and it's just like we fumbled, couldn't score. They scored.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We lost. We shot ourselves in the foot.
So
then they kept shooting.
They announced that the Iowa game will be a 7:30 game on NBC. It is now the 4th or 5th night game we've played this year.
It's the 5th night game, but we have a 6th one.
Yes, and some are still TBD. Michigan could be at night. I could absolutely see that.
Very well could be.
So this is getting a little ridiculous, if you ask me. And I have said it on the show before. College football is meant to be played at noon or 3:30 on Saturday, and I stand by that. Now, I love a night game as much as anybody else. They're fun every once in a while. Yeah, right. Yeah, those it's getting to the point with Michigan State where the night games are not feeling special anymore. They're just annoying. Like, can we just get a 3:30 conference game for the love of God? I mean, am I crazy here, or is this like Friday night games again where I'm going to be on the wrong side of this?
For the love of God, get me a noon game. I do not want to be waiting around all day. Like, come on.
I'm so tired of it.
Games are supposed to be big games, not unranked MSU getting just by Ohio State. Like, get me if Michigan State was really good against Ohio State.
Yeah, if it was like 1 against 2, 1 against 3.
Like, come on. Like, we don't need this. It's homecoming. Yeah. Well, I actually think a night game might be good for us against Iowa, like in theory. But I just want
it wasn't last year.
It's brutal, man. I like feel like I haven't watched Michigan State play in the daylight in ages. Like it's and this is where I like, if you're gonna have that opening Friday night game, then you got to get some Saturday afternoon games. I mean, Christ on a cross, this sucks.
I'll be honest, hands up. I guess I'm insane for assuming we were going to have like maybe 3 total night games. And that was like pushing it.
Hey, Coach Smith's bringing in that TV money, I guess.
I guess so. I mean,
prime time party.
No kidding. It's like, I mean, I'm trying to put the words together, like how frustrated I am by it. Like, Nick, you talked about waiting around. Like, that, I'm good for that every now and then, once or twice, 3 times a year, if we have, especially if it's a big game, But like, for the love of God, I would just love to turn on College Game Day, see the picks, and then flip over to ESPN, ABC, CBS, whatever channel we might be on, NBC, and watch the Michigan State game right out of College Game Day. Yeah. It's like we can't buy that. For the love, I mean, it's like what do we have to do? Who do we have to stop?
Let me move on with it. I hate waking up the next day and remembering that we just lost and having like the existential dread, like until the Lions play, basically.
Oh my gosh!
Those games are pretty late now too. You got to wait for the Lions to show up.
Yeah, just give me some daytime football.
It's brutal, man. I mean. Yeah. I don't know what they'll do with that Michigan game, but I thought there was rumors early on in the season that was going to be a night game.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me at all.
I saw a tweet earlier that said something about 8 p.m. MSU Michigan. And I was like, oh shit, here we go again. And I was like, oh nope, that's basketball. That's basketball. Thank God. But yeah, I mean, I similar to the Friday night thing when we talked about it. I have other personal reasons that will not like this year. This year, I am covering Texas and Texas A&M, who are very highly ranked teams, and their games happen to mostly be at night. Mm-hmm. So I would very much like to actually get to watch the school that I went to, and actually not watch a replay of the game later or watch games simultaneously. So
right.
That's my little selfish soapbox, but
right. So if there's anybody out there that is listening to this that has any control over any of this, please, for the love of God, I'll take 3:30. Noon would be nice, but I'll take 3:30. I mean, just get us on in the daylight.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, honestly.
Give me like a 9 a.m. Give me like a 9 a.m. Pacific time.
I think
Ireland. I don't care.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M had like an 11:45 Central Time kick earlier this year. Like that's a random ass time. Yeah, give us something like that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, anyways,
don't get me started with the Big Ten scheduling because that's messed up too.
Oh my gosh!
Last week, but I keep looking at Rutgers and Indiana's schedule and just like fuming. Like every day at work, I just look at it for 5 minutes and I'm like, why? What did we do to deserve this?
I couldn't agree that, and that's what I keep telling myself. Like, if we had Indiana's schedule, I think we'd be 5-1, maybe 6-0,
maybe 6-0. Yeah.
I mean,
they have not been tested.
It's cyclical. I get it. It'll all come back around. We'll eventually, I hope, we'll have the easy draw. But man, like just looking at some of these other schedules, like it sucks knowing that we have to sit here 3-3 with a bunch of coin flip games left. It's not like we, get UCLA, Purdue, Northwestern to close out the season. Like we have to Iowa, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. Like these are Rutgers. These are like ranked or close to ranked teams. We'll get into that a little bit further down the line in this episode. But moving along, we wanted to do some midseason awards. We're halfway through the halfway point of the season. Nikki, I was told there was a bit. Do you want to forego the bit so we don't have the sound, or do you want to run with it?
Let's kick off the first annual Spartan Savants Awards. All right, so give me a second.
Can't wait for this.
This is great radio right here. The lights went down, the crowd's still loud, but this week we take a break from the crowd. From Sparty's cheers to the green and white. In the heart of Michigan, we ignite the night. Oh, it's a bye week, but we're not slowing down. Hearts full of spirits, and we'll wear that crown. Spartan pride, burning bright. With every victory, we're ready to fight. Who's gonna win the Savant of the Year? Is it gonna be Aiden? Or is it going to be Marsh? I guess we'll have to see. Yet the Spartan of the Year. Yeah.
Very good. I'm glad.
I think we found it. Song. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how I changed it from Savant of the Year to Spartan of the Year halfway through because I started freestyling.
That's all right. This is the first annual Spartan Savants mid-season awards. What we have? We have offensive MVP, defensive MVP, freshman of the year, best positional groups, and then we'll get some disappointments that will not be receiving any awards. How do we see we're going to do this?
Freshman of the year?
Yeah, let's start with freshman of the year. I think we can all agree Nick Marsh, he's easily going to get that award. Honestly, the one play in Maryland probably sealed the deal, but obviously what we've seen from him has been impressive, especially for a true freshman wide receiver. You just don't see them grow on trees and come in with the kind of talent that he has right off the bat and making an impact like he has. So I think we are all anonymously going to give the award for freshman of the year to Nicholas Marsh.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yes, what an honor. What an honor, truly. Okay, so how do we offensive MVP? How do we say we're each going to nominate a player, then we'll discuss and give that award to them? Is that?
Yep, I like it.
Okay, and if we all nominate the same player, then we will
unanimous.
It'll be unanimous. So Trev, for the offensive MVP, we'll let you nominate first, then we'll go to Nikki, and then I'll nominate last, and then for defensive MVP, we'll go me, Nikki, Trev, for the other way.
Okay. Wrote down a couple here. Let's see, who am I gonna actually go with here? I am maybe slightly gonna go off the board a little bit with but I'm sure it's probably at the end of the board, I would say. I'm gonna go K'Ron Lynch Adams. Throw him out there.
It's a fair nomination. I think he's been
5 yards per carry, only player other than Childs with multiple touchdowns on the year. So, it's not a high bar with that offense right now. Plus, you watch him; he runs angry, and he even when he's got like 6 guys on him in the backfield, like he did every time he touched the ball against Oregon, he's picking up yardage, breaking tackles, and he just keeps moving forward like you want to run him back too. So,
strong nomination there. I would agree with everything you said, Nick.
I think that's fair. My only problem is that I just cannot give it to a running back on the team.
Fair enough. I wanted to be somewhat different. Yeah,
I'm going to do something a little crazy. I'm not going to give it to Childs or Marsh. I'm going to give it to someone who has stepped up in a very hard role, a young player Who's
Jonathan
actually
Kim.
on our offensive. Okay, I actually thought about that. Who's actually on our offensive line? Young Stanton Ramil, because he's actually one player that when I see him, I don't get angry.
It's fair.
I see that. I have a hard time giving that to an offensive lineman on this team, but I see that.
See, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I'm going to nominate Childs here. I think it's could look at it two ways. I think it's an obvious nomination, but also maybe controversial with all the turnovers. How could you say he's our most valuable player on offense? I just think he has his ability to make big plays, whether it's with his feet or through the air. We saw it in the Maryland game through the air, Boston College with his feet. I mean, if we didn't have Childs in that Boston College game, I'm not sure what that may have looked like, but he really was our entire offense. And Nick, you mentioned that in our Boston College recap episode. So we'll have a decision here. So I'm going to nominate Marsh. So we've got Marsh, Stanton Ramel, and K'Ron Lynch-Adams.
I thought you were nominating Childs.
I'm sorry. I said Marsh. I meant Childs. Childs, Lynch-Adams, and Stanton Ramel. I could go either way here. I think Stan Ramel's an intriguing option as a dark horse.
It's an interesting vote.
It's so obviously Childs. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He's had 12 touchdowns
We
this year,
tried to make it.
He's accounted for.
He's got it for 8 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
So, if only he was here to accept it. But Aiden Childs, you have been given the first annual Spartan Savants mid-season
Heisman.
Mid-season MVP.
Mid-season offensive MVP award.
Offensive MVP.
All right.
Sure.
Defensively, maybe a little less. This one could be unanimous. I do not know. I'm gonna take the obvious route. I'm gonna go Charles Brantley. He has been very impressive. You look towards the 100-yard interception return, another interception versus Oregon. Just has been totally impressive in a defensive backfield that was in deep need of a playmaker. He's been everything we've needed. He's really stepped up his game. Coming into this year was questionable where he'd be on the depth chart and has really, I think, impressed all year long.
Can we give it to Joe Rossi? Or does it have to be a player?
MVP is
probably has to be a player. I think Brantley is probably the most popular choice. I'll go a little swerve, and I'll give it to Jordan Turner, captain.
Damn it.
He hits hard. He makes plays when we need him to. He's just a guy. Like, he's only been here for a year. This is his only year, but it's going to be his last year, but he feels like a Spartan. He feels like a Spartan defender. And I feel like we haven't been able to say that a lot the past, 3 years.
Hard for me to argue with that.
Yeah, those were the two I was going to nominate. Damn it.
Well, it's okay if you want to nominate.
You get to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think the obvious choice is Brantley for the way he's played. I mean, the Turner has been absolutely sensational for that linebacker room, but Brantley had to go out and win that starting job over again, over all the new guys that the new coaching staff had come in. And he's just taken to his game to a completely different level. Looks like a completely different player out there, which is insane considering he's been on the field the last 3 years for us.
Yeah, it's tough. I think you really go either way here. I've been very impressed with Jordan Turner. I think in this sense, I think we felt pretty comfortable where our linebacker room was at. I think the DBs were a little bit more of a question mark, and especially with some of the injuries we faced on that side of the ball. Tatum going down.
Rucker,
Rashid.
Yeah.
It's really been impressive to see Brantley step up in the way he has. Are we all good giving it to Brantley? I could go.
Yeah, I think it's Brantley. Yeah.
All right. So Charles Brantley, Chucky, congrats on the first annual defensive MVP of Spartan Savants midseason awards.
That's what happens when you don't transfer.
Those two
I'll one thing too. I'd almost give him, if we had this award, comeback player, because I thought he was going to be such a non-factor on this team.
Yeah.
I thought
we all thought that he was going to be on the bench.
Yeah.
And I'll repent.
I
I will repent.
Absolutely seconded there. Best positional group. Travis or Nick, we'll start with you since you haven't gone first yet. Then we'll go Trav. Then I can go last again and be a tiebreaker if needed.
Offensive line. Hey, no. I'm gonna go. I'll go defensive line. I feel like with Barrow and Harmon leaving, I think we've stepped up a ton. It's been like they've been keeping us in the game for. Although it didn't look great against Oregon, they were drained. I think like they've been keeping touchdowns into field goals for the most part.
I agree. That's strong nomination. Travis?
I'm going to stick defense, and I'm going to go with the secondary just because of what we expected out of them and how they've been playing. We just talked about Brantley, what he's been doing, but the new guys have stepped up. The guys that have had to fill in for Tatum and Majid and all those guys in the back end, like they're straining their depth right now, and it hasn't always been pretty, but they've played pretty well. And one of the things that has been encouraging is how physically they've been playing and how much they've been coming up and run support and stopping those perimeter runs. Like even the Ohio State game and the Oregon game, you could see Brantley and Martinez and a couple guys up near the line of scrimmage making plays in the backfield. So that's something that's been missing the past couple of years and been impressive this year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think both were the options here. Both definitely question marks heading into the season, and both have proven to be the strong point of the defense. Obviously, the linebackers are kind of been what we've expected. Not to take away anything from them, they've done a fine job. I lean towards the defensive line here.
Fair.
Because you look back to the number of sacks we have and the number of sacks specifically out of those that have come from the defensive line. They've done a really good job disrupting passers. Ohio State and Oregon, both very talented quarterbacks, and obviously Oregon put a lot of pressure on Gabriel to force those 2 interceptions early on in the game. And against Ohio State, they forced some bad throws from I want to say it's Will Howard. I think Will Rogers, but that's Washington. No. Yeah. Will Howard, one pass we dropped, but they did force some bad throws there. So I'm leaning defensive line here, but if there's any dissenters, I'm open to giving it to the DBs.
I think it's a fair case for the D line. My number one choice was the D line, but
let's give it to the line.
Them, so yeah,
give it to the Hogs. Give it to the Hogs. The big boys got to eat. So defensive line, best positional group. Congratulations to them through the midseason awards here. So that'll do it for the awards portion of the segment tonight. But I do want to talk about disappointments. Man, I think there's a lot of directions we could go here.
Oh man, are we talking singular players? Are we talking what?
I think you can be whatever you want.
All right.
I think there's one we probably all have in mind. One player that I'm thinking of, and I have a group that I'm upset with as well. But Nikki, why don't we start with you? Give us your biggest, one of your biggest disappointments this year.
Well, there were many. I mean, I was very high on Nate Carter going into the year.
Yeah.
It's not all his fault, but if he was as good as I was hoping he would be, I still think he would have been able to make a couple more plays. So I'm going to go running backs in general, but Nate Carter in the offensive line, in the offense, in the turnovers.
All stuff.
Honestly, the tight ends have kind of been disappointing. Like they've been fine, but I thought they were going to be like really. I mean, really, if you just talk about the offense, there
that was a direction I was considering going. Yeah.
Like one thing that's crazy is although Childs isn't as good as we want him to be, I feel like he's kind of just slightly worse than we really thought he was going to be. Like he's one of the least disappointing things. He's just not really like a thing I'm extremely excited about right now. Like really just the offense in general. Let's just go.
Yeah. Hard to argue with anything you just said there. Travis.
Yeah, Nikki covered a lot of mine, but I am like Velling was definitely not just him, but the tight end position was definitely on there. The O-line after that. receivers not getting open, not really outside of Marsh, not really making plays. Cal Halladay, I guess. I mean, he's
waiting for
him.
that.
Missing way too many tackles. He's one of our all-time leading tacklers in school history, I think, with 3 straight 100 tackle seasons. On Friday, he was awful.
Yeah,
I didn't. You guys were talking about the Valenti rant on him or whatever. I didn't listen to that yet, so I don't know what he said. But I remember sitting there watching the game and just saying to the guy, to Jordan, "Oh, Cal Halladay getting beaten coverage again. What a shocker!" Like it's something that it's just like they need to put somebody else out there in pass coverage at least. And even he's had such a great career. They talked about him during the offseason being back to what he was. There's some signs of that, but there's also signs of him not doing that. So
yeah, it's tough to see that, especially from a program guy like that who's played for D'Antonio, Tucker, and Smith. I think the
And
hopes
Harlan.
were high. Yes,
and Harlan.
Right. Yeah. So I think the hopes were high for him coming into the year. It's been, I can understand, not all linebackers are great pass defenders, and there's a talent limitation at certain points, but
that's why the sub packages come in.
Yeah. It's been last week particularly was really tough to watch for our guy Cal Halladay. And this is, of course, these guys are Spartans. We love them. They bleed green and white. But look, the film does not lie, and we're not here to hand out awards to everybody. So I think you guys pretty much covered it all. I mean, I had Cal Halladay as a name. I had the offensive line as a group that has been truly disappointing. And obviously the injuries, that's certainly impacted the offensive line, but they last week's game just left a sour taste in my mouth. So hopefully coming out of the bye week, that is something that will be improved.
Speaking of injuries, do you guys remember Alante Brown? Like, he's been on our team for 3 years. I feel like he's played like 3 games.
Yeah, that seems right. Injuries and turnovers.
Yeah, that's
the basis of Spartan football.
Yeah, certainly seems that way. Trev, you mentioned the wide receivers. That they are. I don't know. Like we just didn't know. I didn't really know what to expect from them coming in the season.
I was hoping for more. I guess is what I'm saying. I remember like the better D'Antonio offenses, even like at the beginning, these receivers were running across the field, getting open, and Brian Hoyer would hit him streaking across the field, and we didn't have problems scoring in the passing game.
Yeah.
I do feel like they've improved some though. Like I feel like Glover's gotten more into a groove, and March is good. He's young, but
I just feel like they're never open. There's always like a DB in the back pocket hanging on to them, and they're having to make all these contested catches, and that's not gonna do it. It's not gonna win games.
Yeah, it's tough because Montori Foster, I think, has gotten open for a couple big opportunities, and we just haven't been able to hit them. So yeah, I mean I do see some improvement there. I think Cornell Hawkins is doing a great job. I don't. It's a younger group, obviously. So we will see. Coming out of the bye week, I do think right now the lens feels like there's a dark cloud over the Spartan football team. Keep going back. So we have to keep in mind we just played the number 2 and the number 3 teams in the country back-to-back weeks. One of them being short rest, all the way across the country. So, I think a win against Iowa out of the bye week changes things pretty quickly. So with that, let's go into kind of forecasting the rest of the season here. We've got 6 games left. Reset expectations a little bit. I think most of these, like I mentioned earlier, are coin flip games. I don't really think we need to go back and repick game by game, but you're starting with Iowa. I don't know if Michigan State will be favored in this game, but at home, I don't think the spread will be much more than 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, something along those lines. I think this is a big game. I don't like to throw around the must-win game
Oh, it's a must-win.
too lately, but I think this has to be a must-win game, right?
Yeah, it's a tone setter for the rest of the season. Honestly,
I agree.
if we want to be,
Yeah, I agree. No question about it.
Get things starting towards rolling toward bowl eligibility, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One thing that's encouraging is that our next two games, Michigan and Iowa, they both have been similarly blown out by teams at the Ohio State level. Like Iowa just got destroyed as bad as us against Ohio State, and Michigan got destroyed by Texas, who's not obviously number one, but like they're in the similar like range. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Oregon or Ohio State beat Texas. I feel like they're all kind of toss-ups there. Like it's not like Michigan competed with them. Like the other teams that we play are like normal people. They're not like $20 million teams.
Yeah. And the one big thing with Michigan that they don't have a quarterback. I mean, you look at basically every team we played, take out Prairie View. You know, they probably all have better quarterbacks than what Michigan has. Maryland, yes. Fancher, we'll leave him out. So take out FAU and Prairie View.
I hate Fancher still. Don't get it twisted. I have not forgiven him. I still hate him.
No, that guy sucks. That guy's the worst. Then the lasagna boy from from Prairie View.
Johnny Lasagna.
Johnny Lasagna.
I interviewed the Prairie View and A&M coach a couple weeks after that. I should have asked him about the Italian food thing. I totally slipped my mind.
So yeah, I think that's going to be a great opportunity for the Michigan State defense.
One thing, if I may interject about quarterbacks,
of course,
because I have some stats. So in the Big Ten, so Aiden Childs, who has played very questionable football, questionable to good, our offensive MVP, he's ranked the number 10th total QBR on ESPN. Billy Edwards, Maryland, ranked number 6. We beat them. Dylan Gabriel, number 4. Will Howard, number 3. So of the teams that we play, Curtis Rourke is number 1 in Indiana. That's not good. But Luke Altmer is number 8. So he's good, but not insane. Rutgers QB, Kalamanakanamak. Hudson Card and Cade McNamara are significantly rated lower than that. So that's really good for our defense. Like the QB play we're playing is not at the same level we were playing earlier in the season.
Right.
And my favorite stat of all is that there's no Michigan QB that qualifies for even being on the ranking.
Nice.
There's only 16 spots.
Got him.
Good.
I do think
so definitely
comforting.
Definitely a reprieve.
On
that end.
And Purdue fired their offensive coordinator too. So
if we lose,
they're not doing so. Oh my gosh,
we need to take no prisoners for. Purdue at night, baby.
Yeah. Another night game. Yeah. I think Michigan, Iowa. I mean, I think 2 winnable games for the Spartans come out of that 5-3. Indiana's going to be an interesting one. I go back to their schedule. They really have not been playing tough teams.
Yeah.
No, their schedule is horrid. Their best win is Maryland at home. Guess what? We beat Maryland on the road.
Yeah.
Better win.
Yeah.
Pussies.
Yeah. I mean, they're taking care of business. I'll give it to them. They're blowing these teams out. But having said that, you got to look at they're not playing Oregon. They're not playing Ohio State.
They will play Ohio State. But
they will, but they haven't yet.
Yes.
So we really don't. I tip the cap to Signetti, what he's done there. They're blowing teams out, man. They got a good thing going, but Spartan Stadium, Old Brass Spittoon. I think that's a different test than at Northwestern or at UCLA even.
Their 2 games before us are Nebraska and Washington, both in Bloomington. So
let's be real. Let's be real. The
So,
old brass
again,
platoon for them,
crazy.
that's their game of the year. They can say Purdue all they want.
True.
That's the one that when they win that, that's a huge accomplishment. For us, it's just another Saturday. But like those guys love that stuff. I think that's gonna be a huge game.
Certainly, absolutely, couldn't agree more. I mean, 3 big games really right out of that bye week. We traveled to Illinois on the road. They're 18th ranked. Brett Bielema's got a good thing going. But again, I haven't seen anything from Illinois that says to me, "Oh gosh, that's going to give us trouble." That they're not in the same conversation as Ohio State, Oregon, obviously. So being on the road again, I just go through these games. It's going to be another toss-up game. And then obviously Purdue and Rutgers to finish the season. Purdue win. And Rutgers we just in line. Yeah. Again, that's to me. I talked about that earlier on our season preview. Like that's one you just got to have a little ready in your ass to get back at from last year. That one sticks with me. That loss to Rutgers, and hopefully the guys can find that chip on their shoulder to get things right there against the team from New Jersey. So having said that, obviously we're sitting here 3-3. I think for me the floor has always been 6-6. Given the remaining schedule, where is your confidence level in terms of us getting to 6-6, and then where's the ceiling for you? Trav, will start with you. Confidence level on getting to 6-6, bowl eligible, and then give me kind of your ceiling given the remaining schedule.
Yeah, I don't know how to put my confidence level, although other than it hasn't changed much. Like I had us at 7-5 and beating Boston College, so that basically, with Indiana and Illinois being ranked opponents now, I guess they're a little more fuzzy on those, but I still think that those are beatable. I think every team on our schedule every game that's left is a winnable game. So I don't think we'll have problems getting to 6-6. I would say the ceiling was probably 8-4. I don't think there's any way we win all of them, but if we can get on a roll, start. Like Nick said, these teams are human, not the alien teams that we've been playing the past couple of weeks. So if we can stop shooting ourselves in the foot, I mean, we've been saying that all year, and fix the turnovers and some stuff, I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, Nicky.
One thing. So obviously the turnovers are bad, and we have to fix those. But like, we've also thrown a lot of turnovers in the games that we've won. Like you could almost say we're good enough to lose a turnover battle and still win a game or two. It's tough for me to gauge the confidence like right now. Like if we beat Iowa, I might think we're going to run the table. If we lose to Iowa, I might think we lose every single game going forward. Like that's how big of a game that one is. But I'd say my confidence is at like a 7.5, 8. Like we're going to.
Yeah, I'd say similar. Yeah,
that's about where I am. I'd say 8.5. I have a hard time believing that out of the next 6 games we can't find 3 wins. You've got one against Purdue, and then you really just got to find 2 more wins there.
Get 2 more
in teams that I do think are beatable. Couple home games, get Rutgers down the season at home, and then you just got to find one out of those remaining games. I'm with you, Trev. I think the ceiling is probably 8-4. I think if you went 5-1 in this stretch of football, that's pretty damn impressive. I'm even having a hard time believing that's doable.
But that's why it's a ceiling.
The dark cloud, I think that has a little bit of effect on this. If you would have asked me after the Boston College game, I probably would have felt differently. But 7-5, I think again 3-2, I'd be happy with that. It sucks the way the schedule shook out this year. I think we've got a tough draw. that stretch of games, Boston College, Ohio State, Oregon, just was always going to be tough. But now I think the bright side of that is that some of these games, Michigan, Iowa, that we thought would be, falling into that gauntlet, now look a little more favorable for us. So, 5-1 would be a great.
That would be amazing. I don't expect it at all.
No,
but yeah.
No. But that I certainly think that's the ceiling. I think more realistically 7-5, 6-6. But I'm pretty confident.
Ceiling, we're talking max potential. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Barring injuries, obviously, for Florida.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And the next win's gonna feel good.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I hope it comes soon, but
it will not be this week.
No, and like I said, the bye week probably came at the best time it could have for us. Like if we had to go play someone this week, just coming out of those two games, I don't even know where the team's confidence level's at.
Yeah.
I'd like to think the coaches are doing a pretty good job of keeping things in perspective. But I think as a fan base, we also have to keep things in perspective. Like we didn't expect to win either of those two games, and we didn't really expect them to be all that close. So nothing that we saw in those two games should be surprising, I think.
We were also touchdown like underdogs to both Maryland and Boston College. Like
right. Yeah.
And then they laid out the bye weeks pretty solidly this year. I mean, we get the first one at halfway point, second one at 3/4 point.
Yeah.
So it's
the least they could do.
Almost perfect. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Lucky us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we buy a third bye week?
No kidding.
Can we buy a 13th player or a 12th player we're allowed to have on the field? Like,
oh, all right. So with those 6 remaining games, again, just to remind everybody, it's bye week. Iowa at home, at Michigan, Indiana at home, bye, at Illinois, Purdue at home, Rutgers at home. Which one do you guys see as the biggest game left on the schedule? But whether that's just, obviously you could say Michigan because that's just the rivalry is the biggest game, or the biggest turning point. Like if we win this game, things are going to look different.
I would say turning point is probably Iowa, and the biggest game is probably Michigan. You go with the rivalry. Yeah.
This might sound crazy. I don't want to give out a BOGO, but it almost feels like to me, if we beat Iowa, we're going to beat Michigan. If we lose to Iowa, we're going to lose
BOGO.
Like I feel like we're going to be 5-3 or 3-5 at the end of this stretch.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you there. I was going to say the Iowa game. I think is the biggest in terms of just what it means for this team and confidence going forward. And like I think Nick, you're the one that's like you touched on it earlier in the show, just learning how to win again. I mean, not necessarily learning, but reminding ourselves that we can win. And Iowa, a fairly good opponent to have a win to have in your back pocket if you can get that. And like you said, I think Nick, I have a hard time disagreeing with you. If we lose that Iowa game, it's going to be hard to convince myself that we'll go in and beat Michigan. But if we win that Iowa game, I'm going to feel pretty confident against Michigan with our chances. So I'm with you there. I think this Iowa game is massive, and we've thrown the must-win tag on it, and I am doubling down on that.
Yep. Triple down, whatever you want. Yeah. Yep. It's
much on the table for that game. All right. I think I gotta be honest, missed the Vis. Came up a little short this week. Don't really have anything good. We're gonna put Miss the Vis on the bench for a week. Try and come back next week. With
bye
some
week
better.
This is bye week.
The bye week for Miss the Vis.
I get a week off. Good.
Yeah, a week off for Trav.
I could use the day off.
Reset, get healthy.
Yeah, bro. Today was a little rattling. I'll tell you that. I could use the day off. Yeah.
I have one random thing I kind of want to bring up. I know it's Stellian's talk, but he was on a podcast yesterday. Like, why are people taking his word as bond? Like,
Yeah,
I've been seeing. I heard someone
because
say,
he's
like,
a Michigan man. They don't lie.
like
Yeah.
hearing all this discourse from coaches talking about sign stealing. I really think that 80 to 90% of teams have been doing this. It's like the coach you're sourcing is Connor Stallions.
Yeah, the guy that got caught. Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, yeah. No, now hearing Osama bin Laden talk, I think most people might be terrorists. Like, but why are we listening to this person? Like, oh yeah, we helped Ohio State beat Michigan State. Actually, like, I don't think they needed your help.
I cannot.
I kind of hope that's true. Just so
Yeah,
it feels a little better somehow.
I just can't believe this guy. People are giving this guy the time of day. I think the podcast was Bussin' with the Boys, which is hosted by Taylor Lewan, who's obviously a Michigan grad. I get it. It's Michigan, a compelling. Yes. It's a compelling story. It's obviously interesting, but it's like, to me, when he says 80 to 90% of teams are doing this, that doesn't get you off the hook. If anything, why are you the one that got caught? It's like, that's a lack of. That's an issue on your end. Like, if everyone else is doing it and you're the one that got caught, well, you did something wrong.
Yeah, you're
so
stupider than everyone else.
It doesn't land, I think, the way that he is hoping it does or is intending it to. I honestly didn't listen to any of it because I just cannot fathom why that guy, like you said, Nick, how that guy deserves or is getting an ounce of trust from anybody. Like, this guy is like a psychopath. He is a freak.
His dad compared him to Rain Man. If my dad compared me to Rain Man, I would punch him in the face.
Mickey, he already has. No.
Oh, I mean,
why are people are like, oh, okay, well, now that Connor Stallion is saying that everybody else does it, he must be telling the truth. The guy who can't recall where he was the day of the Central game.
He's trying to find any reason to get himself off the hook.
It's wild. And like these people like Joel Klatt, I don't know if you guys saw this the other day, but he was like talking about how sign stealing wasn't that big of a deal. And then he's like, actually, I think TCU had Michigan signs, and that's why they won. He's like, it's a big deal when TCU does it, but when Michigan does it, it's just what everyone else is doing.
No, I've heard straight from this. I've heard straight from Sonny Dykes what that was about. In the press conference right after or at the end of the last season, somebody asked him about it, and he basically said that they knew Michigan was stealing signs. That's all it was.
Joel Klatt, one of the great minds in terms of gargling Michigan
we've
ever seen.
Yeah, you know my feelings on Joel Klatt.
Yeah, useless.
It's not a competitive advantage. Also, the reason they lost is because the other team was using that same competitive advantage.
Right? Yeah, it's like ridiculous. Like, if you're not stealing signs, you're crazy. Also, TCU stole the signs. That's why they won. Like, what are we doing here? The hoop jumping is incredible.
Wasn't that loss great this weekend?
Let's
talk. Let's have some fun.
That was beautiful. I didn't get to watch any of it, but yeah,
that was nice.
I was watching it on a phone at a wedding with a Michigan fan, and it was fun to watch him get excited about Jack Tuttle, and also get the text from my friends about how Michigan was back because they strung together like a couple vertical pass plays.
I was
Nicky
really
was in panic mode.
I will say. I was like, oh
no. I read your text and I was like, oh, Michigan must be up at like 30 right now. It was like a tied game.
I was like a little nervous for a second, and then I was like, okay, honestly, it's Jack Tuttle. Like, whoa, he'll come back down to earth, and they did.
When
I enjoy a Michigan loss.
When Washington's kicker missed that first field goal, I was so mad. I for sure so
for
angry.
A while thought they were going to win that game. Yeah.
I was way too angry.
Oh my God. It was definitely a bit of nerves, but I like to see them get up and then come crashing down. It's always fun to witness that, especially when you can see it in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Epic
Spineless,
collapses are always fun to watch.
Spineless jellyfish.
horrible smelling, bad people.
Disease ridden. Oh, all right. We ready for the picks?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, week 7 picks here. A strong slate this week. I do need to mention last week.
Here we go. Here we go.
Travis was 6-8 last week. Nikki was 5-9. Water is finding its level here in New York City. I went 13-1 last week. A big bounce back week for your boy. The only loss coming at the hands of, I think we all got it wrong, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. Oklahoma State quickly finding its way to the no-bet list. But there's the updated standings. I've been telling everyone it's a long season. Fought my way back to 42-42. Travis and Nikki right there behind at 40-44. There could be another. There's going to be
never
big
be over.
swings.
We're
That's
just
what I'm
getting started.
telling you. We're picking 14 games, 15 games a week. There's going to be big swings like this. But yeah, a big week for Willie. I wish I would have actually put some actual money on it. This is about where the bragging will end. I don't really have much to show for it other than I can brag about my week 6 picks the rest of my life. Strong slate this week. I will say that. Let's see. We're going to start off in the Big 12. The 16th ranked Utah Utes are heading to Tempe, Arizona to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Utah is a 6-point favorite in this one against Sun Devils. Travis, we'll start with you.
I'm going to get bold here and go Sun Devils. I think they've been playing pretty well lately.
I'm going to go Utes. Spare me the whole Sam Levitt threw for 4 touchdowns last week. I don't care. They blow.
Did I say anything about that?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No. This is a tough one. I'll go Arizona State at home here. Okay. The next game I have is a bigger game, so I'm going to save it for a little later. Penn State takes on their first chance to travel west. For coming in ranked number 4. They're traveling to Southern California to take on the USC Trojans, who are coming off a tough loss versus Minnesota. The change to the Big Ten proving to be difficult for USC thus far. Having said that, Big Ten teams have not had a lot of success traveling west. I think they're 1-7 when they're traveling 2 time zones over, I think it is. Penn State favored by 5.5 at USC.
Yeah, I'll take Penn State. I don't love the numbers you just threw out, but from what I've seen with both teams, Penn State's physicality is probably going to make a bit of a difference there. So
I'm glad they lost last week. I'm still so mad at them for the Michigan game, and they are on the no-fly list. They are not betting them.
No picks list. Nick's no picks list.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I really am upset with both teams. I mean, I'm not upset with Penn State. I just don't like betting on James Franklin.
Fraud.
I'm going to go with USC here as a home dog in a bounce-back situation and rely on the trend of Midwest teams traveling out to the West Coast. Next game here, we've got another West Coast team from California, Stanford, in a big rivalry game, traveling to South Bend, Indiana to take on the 11th ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame is 23.5-point favorites.
Man, that's a lot, but I'm still going to go Notre Dame. Stanford has been bad for a while.
I will also go Notre Dame.
I, too, am going to ride with Notre Dame. I think that this will be a game that they take care of business. Stanford is kind of reverting back to their old ways. All right, the surprise team this year, the 22nd ranked Pitt Panthers, are traveling to California as well to take on the University of California, Berkeley. Pitt coming in 4-0 or 5-0. California played a tough game against Miami. Pitt is favored by 3 on the road.
I'm gonna take Cal. I think they got something to prove after last week.
I'll go for the dues. Give me Pitt.
I'm gonna ride with Nikki here and the Nard Dog. I will go with Pitt as well. They've been playing pretty good football this year.
I'm surprised that's not on the no picks list there, Nikki.
Now let's dues it up, baby.
The Nard Dog.
Do the do.
Yeah, and that's an emotional loss for California. But to your point, Charlie, they may have something to prove. But I'm going to ride with Pitt here. Okay, SEC rivalry matchup here. The Florida Gators coming off a much-needed win against UCF. Travels to Knoxville to take on the 8th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers, coming off a tough loss last week. Tennessee favored by 15.5.
Yeah, I'll go Tennessee. I thought about taking the points with Florida, but no, I'll stick with the Vols.
Tennessee is going to ravage them.
Yeah, I am tempted to take the points here. Tennessee coming off that loss, I think it's a bounce back situation. I will go with the Vols as well. All right, gonna save this one as well since we don't have the Michigan State game. Just want to save the big games for last. All right, number 9, Ole Miss, 3.5-point favorites, traveling to Death Valley to take on the 15th-ranked LSU Tigers.
Give me LSU. That's a tough one. That's a tough place to play.
Same here.
Tough place to play. I feel like Ole Miss got their shaky game out of them against Kentucky. I think that they'll take care of business here. I've been not so impressed with everything Brian Kelly's doing at LSU. Nussmeier, I do think, is very solid. But I am going to ride with the Rebels here on the road. A bit risky, but I'm going to roll with it. Okay. Back to the Big 12. The Arizona Wildcats are traveling to Provo to take on the BYU Cougars, a BYU team that is surprising in control of the Big 12 right now, coming in 14th ranked. BYU is 4.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, Cougars.
Man, bring it up. Bring them it up.
What?
I will. I'll take the Cougars as well. All right with you guys. All right. South Carolina Gamecocks traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the 10th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, Alabama handed a tough loss last week against Vanderbilt. Very surprising. Alabama favored by 21 in this one.
Yeah, they're going to come out angry and wanting to score a lot, so that makes sense. Go Bama.
You know what? Why not? I'll go with the Cox.
Alrighty. I'm leaning with Travis here. I think Bama's going to come up pissed off. Something to prove. Shane Beamer, not his biggest fan. I'm going to run with
not his dad.
Side. No, he's the coaching has just not been great from him. I will go with the Tide. All right. Big Ten game here. Wisconsin traveling to Piscataway to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers is 2.5-point favorites at home.
I feel like I'm taking too many favorites, but I'm going to stick with Rutgers.
I'm with you there. Wisconsin is like really under Luke Fickell's like not good.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
I would be horrified if I was a Wisconsin fan. I would have the existential dread would be next level.
Yeah, they have struggled this year. Let me just pull something up really fast. I feel like the only time I really watched Wisconsin was against Alabama when they got their asses kicked.
They blew it against USC.
They did. You know what? Rutgers coming off a loss to Nebraska at home. I think they'll bounce back here. But I think that'll be a good game, but I think Rutgers will take care of business. Shiano, always a tough out. All right, Louisville, 7.5-point favorites at Virginia. I'm not even sure why this game is on here, but we're picking it.
I guess Virginia. I don't know.
Yeah, because who cares be an option? I guess we'll go.
What was that, Nikki? Louisville?
Yeah.
I am going to go with Louisville as well. Okay. Another surprise team, the 10th ranked Iowa State Cyclones, will hit the road as 3-point favorites, traveling to Morgantown to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers.
God, I hate that team. West Virginia has screwed me so many times this year. I'll go Iowa State.
Yeah, they're on my no picks list, so I got to go Clones.
Good.
I do
too. Well earned list.
I've got them there as well. I feel like Iowa State's due for a letdown, but I'm not picking West Virginia after what they've done this year. Okay. 18th ranked Kansas State traveling to Boulder to take on the Fighting Neon Dion Sanders, Colorado Buffalo. Kansas State is 4-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm not a big Colorado guy, so I'll go climbing in the Wildcats. Kansas State.
I have paid no attention to the Big 12 this year. I don't even know how Colorado's doing. I know they weren't doing very well, but I'll just pick them anyway.
All righty. I am going to side.
They're 4-1.
Yeah, they're hanging around.
Dang.
I'm going to side with the better coach here. I think Kleiman, Colorado obviously has some talented players, but I think this is a game where coaching is going to rise to the top here. I'm going to take Kleiman and Kansas State Wildcats. All right. The Red River rivalry, a big one right in your guys' backyard. We've got Texas, top ranked in the country. They will be playing Oklahoma, who is coming in 18th ranked. Texas is technically the road team. Obviously, this is played at the Cotton Bowl, which is somewhat of a neutral site. Obviously, a big game down there. Texas favored by 14.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Oklahoma there then. I think Texas wins, but 14's a lot. Yeah.
I'm with you. It's a rivalry game. It's one of the
especially
I love
the way they play Tennessee. Yeah.
Well, you got to come down one time for that game. It's so much fun.
I do.
Dude, I still haven't been to it.
Maybe next year. We'll get that.
It's a bit. The State Fair is a bit like factory.
I can only imagine. I feel like I would thrive there. Yeah. In terms of my pick, I feel like this game is always close. I am going to go with Oklahoma. I think Texas has the ability to beat them by 14, but just weird stuff happens in this game. So I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. All right, the marquee game of the week. We've got the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes traveling to the Autzen Zoo out there in Eugene to take on the 3rd ranked Oregon Ducks. Ohio State on the road is favored by 3.
For me, this is a really big coin flip game, so I'm going to go with the home team.
Yeah, maybe just because I've watched both. I've watched my team get ravaged by both, and I feel like the ravaging was worse with Oregon. But I mean, 3-point favorite going to the West Coast, that's got to mean something. So I guess give me the Buckeyes.
All right, yeah, this is a really tough one. I don't know if I saw one team stand out more than the other against us. I'm having a hard time letting go of those Dylan Gabriel interceptions. I'm going to go Ohio State, but I think this is going to be a great game. kind of a playoff feel here in Week 7. We could see this matchup again later on, whether it's in the playoff or Big Ten championship or maybe both. All right, and we will wrap things up this week. No Michigan State game, but we do have the Lions traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Lions are the dreaded road favorite here. Always get nervous with those ones. They are heading to Dallas as 3-point favorites against the Cowboys. Why don't you give me a pick and a score?
I'm going to go Lions 34-20.
Yeah,
Risky.
not only are the Lions going to win, they better win, or else I might not go to work on Monday. I might be too scared. So I will go Lions 28, Cowboys 13.
All right, I'm going to pick the Lions as well. They've been good to me. It's tough. I always feel so nervous going to Dallas. The refs just feels like we're playing more than the Cowboys. I think it's something reasonable. Lions 24, Cowboys. Cowboys 13.
13 sounds right for the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
Losing.
Okay. Yeah. Forward down the field, baby.
That's right.
That'll
Detroit
do it.
Sports are back.
That's right. Back like you wouldn't believe, baby. Go Tigers tomorrow. Hopefully they can wrap it up. Go Lions this week. Michigan State's on a bye, but always go green. Spartan Savants, check us out on YouTube. Hit subscribe, like on Instagram, follow on Instagram, follow on Twitter. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever else they are these days. And obviously check out the College Huddle for all other college football news and team-specific podcasts. With that, for Nikki and Trav, that'll do it for the 36th episode of the Spartan Savants. It's a pleasure as always. Go green.
Go white. Give us a noon game. Hit the ref.